The Steducentre Osizweni Trust Maths Initiative. A request was received from the Osizweni Trust, and the question was asked, is it possible to implement the Steducentre methodology on a large scale with approximately 400 grade 10 learners and 150 grade 7 learners? Is it possible to provide a root cause analysis to teachers and students on individual and collective students' maths gap from all their previous years to enable sustainable and effective remediation? And can we accurately identify the problems in order to effectively determine a resolution? The most common problem identified with the teachers that were interviewed was that students arrive in a grade but are not ready for that particular grade. A large amount of deficiencies were noted, with each student having multiple problems from understanding basic English or math concepts. The teachers were faced with a humongous problem. There was no time to review prior year's content, and they were unaware of which gap each student has. In order to address this single problem, the Steducentre designed a solution using the already approved government A&A exams to 1. Identify the gaps from grade 1 to grade 6 in phase 1. 2. Review trends to students' gaps. 3. Provide students with feedback on their weaknesses. 4. Provide detailed lessons on material so that the students may understand what went wrong. And 5. To provide the parent, the teacher, and the principal with feedback. The proposal from the Steducentre was as follows. We would 1. Identify the root cause. 2. We would review what went wrong. 3. Would inform all stakeholders. Then we would provide teacher assistance and close off and obtain feedback. The ultimate end game was to set up a KLite math classroom for the students. The idea was to have the students know their weaknesses and provide the resources in order to address them. The summary of events were as follows. The students and the venue and the time was identified. 244 grade 7s and 429 grade 10s. Students then completed their A&A exams. Staff and volunteers marked the exams and captured the results. Staff and volunteers presented a review to the students of the work that was done. The results were then reported to the individual student and also to the teachers, and a summary provided to the Osizweni Trust. The approach followed by the Steducentre is to take each individual student and determine their gaps from grade 1 up until their current grade. This means that if we had a grade 7 student, they had to write the grade 1 to the grade 6 exams in order to determine their weaknesses. If we had a grade 10 student, they went further and continued up until grade 9 to determine their weaknesses. The results that are presented show you what a grade 7 student got on an average for the grade 1 exam, the grade 2 exam, the grade 3 exam, and so forth, and also what the grade 10 student got for the grade 1 exam, the grade 2 exam, and so forth. The shocking truth is that I have a student that will currently be in grade 7, yet the average result of those students for the previous year is a 36% understanding. And it is even worse for the grade 10s because their understanding of the grade 6 content is sitting at 26%. This clearly gives us the indication that the base required in order to continue with mathematics doesn't exist for these particular students. It needs to be redone. As a result of the work that was performed, we were able to identify the top 5 issues identified per grade. We would caution against only focusing on these items because by the time we got to grade 5, almost all the sections applicable in that particular paper were not understood by the various students. The data did, however, give us common areas that all students struggled with, which allowed us to focus on solutions in those particular areas. What went well? An excellent relationship was developed with both the principals from the high school and primary school. There was excellent support that was provided from the grade 7 HOD and the teachers at the primary school. The norms, rules, and expectations were created. There were a large number of volunteers. The venue and resources were adequate. The manner in which we worked enabled discipline. There were detailed trend analysis that was obtained from over 600 students' personal struggles. There was an increase in the average term 2's results for the grade 10s from 12% to 25% and the grade 7s from 53% to 59%. Our volunteers gained valuable work experience and were required to complete the program before the students. There was basic skills and work ethic that was modeled to them. What went not so well? There was inadequate support from the grade 10 teachers. Communication with the students could have been improved. The reporting system we created was manual and complicated. The process was cumbersome. A large amount of time was wasted sorting out papers and marking. Students did not place their names on the answer sheet, and this resulted in wasted time as we tried to determine whose paper belonged to whom. The inexperience of volunteers slows down the process as they also require significant amounts of attention. Volunteers and staff had limited access to vehicles and could not drive. The founder had to take a lunchtime to pick up volunteers, drop them off, and then return to work. The strikes and water problems in the area resulted in a loss of 3 weeks of school time in the third term. The misunderstanding on the various roles and the responsibilities of the initiative. The following lessons were, however, learned. Firstly, the management of 673 students completing 6 exams per student results in over 4,000 papers to mark. If you don't have a plan in place to separate the documents and track them, it would be a nightmare for individuals to sort out. The identification of gaps and the implementation of solutions should not be completed at the same time when the number of students is greater than 50. Students need to be upskilled in basic computer skills. Volunteers need significant coaching. Opportunities are in place for those who are diligent. We had a number of our volunteers and interns being provided with employment in various environments as a result of their diligence. The education problems we have are not easy to fix, and we require a long-term strategy to be effective. Support is required from the larger community, business, and like-minded organizations to address the educational deficiencies that we have. The inefficiencies in the system could be systematically addressed, and the time taken to complete this analysis can be greatly reduced. We are grateful for the lessons. We have learned that this particular program that took us 6 months can be reduced to 2 weeks if handled correctly. The Steducentre, turning ordinary learners into extraordinary leaders.